here. Hello, everyone, and welcome. No, you. That's awesome.
Yes.
That's a big.
I just saw it light up.
We were just about to start this podcast, and we saw that Ashton Lambie is now following Sheldon on Instagram, and
not Trevor.
Well, not me, or the podcast,
or the podcast. So I guess I now have to try to get him to follow the podcast,
right? But I guess we can just quit everything.
Yeah, we're done. We're done. We won. We're famous.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dirty Chain Podcast, brought to you by Michigan Midpack Media, the podcast that covers the Michigan cycling scene from the viewpoint of the Midpacker. I'm your host, Trevor.
And this is Sheldon.
And on this episode, Sheldon and I will be recapping last week's Cherry Roubaix, the Grand Fondo that hosted the Michigan State Road Championship, starting in Traverse City and ending in Sutton's Bay. We will also be looking at other recent and upcoming events in the Michigan cycling calendar. But before we get into that, of course, Sheldon, how was your week in the Midpack?
One word, lazy.
Lazy.
I took 4 days off.
4 days off?
Yeah, I started off the week pretty much not doing anything bike related. I took a little time to kind of rest and recover after a couple good weeks in a row.
Important. Very important.
Important, especially... Yeah, you and I were up at the Cherry Roubaix on Saturday.
Correct.
Which we're going to dive into a little deeper, but my day wasn't nearly as spectacular as yours.
But more eventful, I would say.
Yeah. Costly.
Costly, yes.
Yeah, nothing like a broken 404 Firecrest.
Well, yeah, we'll get into that.
We'll get into that.
So.
But then after that, you and I and a group of people on Thursday got out some lawn chairs after our Thursday night gravel.
Yeah, we've been doing this Thursday night gravel ride for, I don't know, it's been going on for a couple years.
Yeah, I think it's in its third year.
But this year it's really kind of
it's finally taken off.
Yeah, kind of finding its own footing. And
yeah, last season I would show up and I did solo quite a few nights on beautiful nights, sit there in a empty parking lot waiting for people and no one would show up. This year we are averaging probably close to 10 to 12 riders per night. And now that we've started to do parking lot beers, and
that's always a plus, for sure.
And you upped the game substantially.
Well, I will say my wife upped the game. She showed up after the ride with some pizza, and that was
I think we're
a game changer.
I think we're going to have just a massive amount of people next week after the post.
By the way, Sheldon, you owe me $10 for pizza.
I'll buy beer.
No, but those rides are so much fun, and I mean, not only are they fun, but we cranked, man. On a gravel ride, we averaged like 19.8 or something.
Yeah,
and
we were just
it was an incredible ride. And it's kind of those. We're kind of getting well into the season. Everyone's form is really good, and it's a lot of fun, ton of fun. And
Thursdays turned into my favorite night of the week
for sure. And then Friday, you do anything Friday?
Friday, I got 20 miles, but it was 20 miles to go get beers with you and a couple.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
There tends to be this trend of going to get beers.
I had a good ride Saturday, a road ride with some of the Sinair Auto Lab folk. It was a great, smooth 60-mile Saturday morning ride. Weather was perfect. It was good. Yeah.
Whereabouts did you guys ride to?
We rode up through Fowler.
Oh yeah.
And just Fowler and back. Started in East Lansing, Fowler and back. And
up all that way, and you didn't venture out into any of that spectacular gravel they have out there.
We were on road bikes.
It's a shame.
We did ford a river, though. No, we didn't.
So you went over a bridge?
Yeah, we just went over a bridge. Exactly. The way civilized people do it.
We're in the 21st century.
Yeah.
We can use bridges now.
Oh, and then Wednesday, I went over to Grattan, which is a really small town, I guess, outside of Grand Rapids. And they have this really fun, every Wednesday night in the summer, it's a circuit race around an auto track.
Yeah, it's a short course auto track.
Short course, like 2 miles, but it's kind of windy. It's got some punchy little hills. And it's not really a crit. Would you call it a crit? They don't call it a crit, so I wouldn't call it a crit.
Yeah, I would just call it a circuit race.
Circuit race, but man, is it a blast. They have a B group and an A group, and they just do, I think we did like 21 laps. And
yeah, all the corners there are nice and banking, but if anyone gets squirrely, you have all the runoff you could possibly imagine. Like, there's nothing you're going to hit.
Smoothest surface. Grattan is a ton of fun, and this is only the third time I did it this summer. I'm kind of upset I didn't get there more often, but I'll try to get there a couple more times before the end of August.
And how did it go for you?
It was fun. I rode with the A's. I've done that a few times, and they're pretty fast. My legs weren't 100% fresh coming off of the Cherry Roubaix, and then also coming right off of TNR the night before. I think that was even more what hurt my legs was coming off of TNR. But I just kind of stayed in my place in the back of the pack and just rolled.
Just had a good Wednesday night.
It was a great Wednesday night. And, it's just a good excuse to go out there and ride really fast with a bunch of people and get some of that fast experience. So
I was at home.
Yeah. What did you do Wednesday?
I was at home.
Okay. Sheldon, I saw on Strava that you were doing some cross training.
Yes, back out at Trainee Park, a park that we have here in Lansing. It's got a big sledding hill in the middle, and we've used this park in the past probably 3 or 4 years as a mock cyclecross course. There's a whole track basically that's been worn down and it's mowed in certain spots. And I went out with the old single speed and did hill repeats up and down the sledding hill.
Just all by yourself?
All by myself.
How did that go?
Oh, it was fantastic.
Yeah.
Other than I was running the gearing for it was set up for long gravel rides. So I was running 42 16 gearing, and going up the hill was a little unpleasant. The next day, went for a ride.
Today?
Oh, today. Yeah, that was today. And my legs were shredded.
Well, good. As they should be after putting in all those hill repeats.
First time doing good solid intervals in probably 2 months.
So are you planning on doing much cyclocross this season?
Yeah, as soon as I get back from Colorado from the Lake City Alpine 50, I am going to be pulling off the 38 Gravel Kings that are currently on my Cat X and throwing on some 33s and getting ready for cross season.
So you're Cat X, so you're not going to ride single speed?
I'll have them both set up for cross.
Okay. But ideally you would want to ride like the traditional cross setup.
I just want both because I did 2 years of strictly single speed.
No, it's not.
And it's really fun a few times, but when your entire season turns into it, it gets really tiring.
No, it sounds awful, so I applaud your decision. So we had a pretty decent week in the Midpack, although this weekend we didn't do any racing, but there was a big race up in the Marquette area in the UP this weekend, Sheldon. Is that correct?
Yeah, right back up to Marquette, almost like the Crusher a couple weeks ago. This past Saturday, we had the 20th anniversary of Ore to Shore, which is an absolute mainstay in the Michigan mountain bike scene. It offers a couple different courses. There's the Hard Rock, which is 48 miles, the Soft Rock, which is 28 miles, and the Shore Rock, which is 10 miles. And this brings some pretty big names out to it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we had a lot of local people from mid-Michigan, from the Lansing area, go up there and race. But besides that, a bunch of big hitter names from Michigan. Jordan Wakely came in third. Tim Coffey came in fourth. And Nolan Vanderswag, who won the Cherry Roubaix.
Yeah, the Cat 1-2 state champion.
We'll talk about that in a little bit. He came in eighth, and then Mark Krantz, who
won the Crusher.
He came in 11th place. So Cole House from Wisconsin won the overall men, and on the women's side, Leah Schneeberger from Wisconsin came in first place, but close after that was Julie Momber from Grand Rapids, Michigan, came in second, as well as other fellow Michigander Erica O'Hearn from Traverse City came in fifth place. We, of course, apologize if we mispronounced anybody's name. Yeah, it brings a lot of riders, and it's a really popular mountain bike race.
Yeah,
in the
2,500 riders.
Huge.
It's a
enormous.
huge race. Starts up by the Ishpeming area, and it's a point-to-point race, so it ends in Marquette.
Is this one, we didn't ride it. You've never done it, I assume.
Nope.
Is this one that, you don't do a lot of mountain biking or any mountain biking. Is this something that you would want to do in the future? I got to put it on my list, for sure.
I feel like it is a bucket list event. It's up there with Iceman Cometh. It is just a mainstay. It's definitely known on the national scale.
Yeah.
From us here at the Dirty Chain, congratulations to all those who participated this past weekend at Ore to Shore. Great riding.
Looking ahead in August and September, we got a few other events coming up, quite a few events, starting with...
up next, we have August 17th, we have Skirts in the Dirt, which is a women's-only race over in Comstock Park, Michigan.
Which is right outside Grand Rapids.
Yep, to the north, just a little bit. Yep.
North of Grand Rapids.
They're offering a handful of different races for it.
I think this is really neat. It's the first and only women's mountain bike race, and it's put on by Skirts in the Dirt, like the name suggests. Skirts in the Dirt is a local organization that focuses on encouraging female cycling and racing and building a community and a foundation for exactly that.
They have an event for the race that's 5 to 6 miles, and as they say even in the description, this is an event for those who said that they would never race. A great opportunity, because some races are just daunting. It doesn't matter. You could be even a seasoned racer. There's a lot of events that just kind of even give you butterflies.
For sure. It's easy to be intimidated, especially if you're a beginner.
Yeah, so Skirts in the Dirt, I follow them on Instagram, and some of the stuff they post is fantastic. It's all about getting every woman out there riding.
Yeah, their Instagram's fantastic. They have a great website. And if you want more information, you can go on either of those places. Obviously, Sheldon and I have never done the race.
Nope.
Nor will we. But we would be interested if you have participated in this race or know more about Skirts in the Dirt. We would love to talk to you and learn more about this exact organization.
I don't know what your work schedule's like, but maybe we should check this out.
When is it?
It's the 17th.
Is that a Saturday or Sunday?
I think it's a Saturday.
Maybe we should.
I think it would be a great opportunity for us to gather a little more information about this race and this organization. Then, hey, let's get our feet out there.
Yeah. Okay, so that is August. Now, as I'm looking at the calendar here, Sheldon, it looks like September is a busy month for gravel racing, especially for the gravel race series in Michigan.
Yeah, we have so our local team is hosting on the 8th
Sinair Auto Lab.
Yep. Sinair Auto Lab. It is called the Uncle John's Dirty Ride. There is a 56-mile and a 25-mile route.
Gravel race,
and it is fast. It is hard pack, very flat. Usually somewhat sheltered with the corn, but if it's windy, it can be...
Did you race this last year?
I did.
And as I understand, most people are riding road bikes?
I would say 50% of the bikes in the lead groups are road bikes.
My wife and I were out riding part of the routes this last week.
How was
it? It was exactly like you said. It was very packed down, fast, although I will say I disagree with your corn thing. It was windy and there was nowhere to hide. And so if it's a windy day, it's not going to be
last year we got pummeled.
Okay.
It was windy. But we still averaged, I think, somewhere in the 23-mile-an-hour range.
That's fast.
It was a quick. I raced on a road bike, as did most of the peloton.
And that's in St. John's, Michigan.
Yeah, just outside. It's at Uncle John's Cider Mill, which is, I mean, if you want to go as a spectator, it's awesome because they have all this made in-house ciders, both normal and hard. They make donuts in-house.
It's a fun event.
Yeah, it's a great venue for a race to be hosted at. And very few gravel races can say that 99% of the race is on gravel.
Yeah.
This one, I think the only paved section is the driveway.
Yeah.
I mean, other than that, you are on gravel the entire time.
Are you riding it this year, Sheldon?
Yep. Yeah, I'll be racing it this year. Are you?
I am not, but the very next weekend, I just signed up for it this last week. Lord of the Springs on September 14th. It's a Saturday. And this one's a little different, where Uncle John's is flat and fast. Lord of the Springs is slow and hilly.
All right, so I've never done this race. You have. Tell me about it.
So Lord of the Springs is a combination of the gravel roads that we would be riding for the Cherry Roubaix, as well as two big sections of Yankee Springs, kind of outside of Grand Rapids. Yankee Springs is a single-track mountain bike course.
Yep. Do you do the yellow loop?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not familiar enough with the loops.
We're gonna edit that out.
Well, we can figure out what loops they are, but it starts on gravel and then dives into the single track for 6 or 7 miles, comes out of the single track, does more of the gravel roads, and then when you're nice and tired, it dumps you right back into the single track and you want to die, and then you come out of the single track and you finish off on the gravel roads, and it is hard, but it is a ton of fun.
And last year was hot, wasn't it?
Last year was hot. And I think I saw maybe one person riding a gravel bike. Everyone else, you're riding a mountain bike.
Yeah, I mean, that single track in there, I haven't done a lot of mountain biking, but I have gone out in there. That's real single track.
Yeah, it's pretty rough, and I think the right tool is a mountain bike.
Which bike are you riding?
My hardtail Cannondale. It's a kind of an older 29er, but it was a perfect bike for that ride last year, and I'm looking forward to it. I signed up last year because I wanted a race that was similar to Iceman, and on paper it looked like Iceman. Part gravel road, part single track, but also doing Iceman last year, I will have to say that this was way more difficult. This year there are 2 distances offered. Last year was only a 37 miler, but this year there's a 37 or a 24 miler, and I encourage anyone to come. You need a mountain bike, Sheldon.
I need one.
Yeah.
I know.
You probably wouldn't want to do it on your single speed.
No.
But I'm looking forward to that. That's September 14th. Then a couple weeks after that, on the 28th,
we have Michigan Mountain Mayhem's Fall Edition, their fall gravel grinder, up in Boyne City.
Is the spring one, is that on road?
Both spring and summer are road, and those are the ones that offer up to the 200K.
Okay, and then the fall offering is a gravel, and
it is an actual race, where the others are kind of more the Fondo-ish style. They're not even a mass start. It's kind of here's a time frame to leave, and your chip starts when you cross the start line and stops when you finish.
And you already said this, right? It's in
Boyne City.
Leaves from Boyne City, which that area is pretty hilly for sure.
Yeah, how much elevation do they have?
So yeah, we were looking it up for the 60-mile distance. There's 3,600 feet of elevation, and a
lot of that stuff's steep.
Steep and gravel, and that combines to be quite a day for Michigan Mountain Mayhem.
Are you gonna do that?
I will not be there. What about you?
I'm gonna try to make it.
Oh, you'll try to make it.
I want to do it. Be on my single speed for it.
That'd be fantastic. And then that closes off the September, but also the Michigan Gravel Race Series for the season, right?
Yeah, that's the last one. That's the grand finale.
Yeah. So a lot of good racing this year, but yeah, we still have a few more events before the end of the series.
Yep.
Well, that's enough of the future schedule. Let's now look back at what happens when a couple mid-packers race the state championships.
So, Trevor, let me tell you the story from last weekend.
Ooh, I'm all ears.
Picture this. It's 9 p.m., night before a race, 3 hours away, and I am just starting to put a bike together.
What? So why? I mean, we've been. So Sheldon, why is it necessary that you even have to put together a road bike?
Because at a Gran Fondo about a month ago, I went down with about 10 other riders, broke some carbon fiber, ripped out some cables that are internally routed, and in my infinite wisdom, I hung that bike up for the last month and a half, and I haven't touched it since.
So you're not trying to put together that bike, you put together a different bike, correct?
Yeah, my training bike that currently had a 28 gravel wheel set on it, and was not at all set up for going to the state
So
championship.
the night before the race, what do?
I am taking zips off one bike that's set up for 11 speed, taking a cassette off my trainer or my indoor trainer wheel set, and I am doing a hodgepodge mix up to get this bike ready for a race.
So you kind of have this Franken bike. Did you get a picture of this Franken bike?
Oh, I have it's on my Instagram.
Okay.
It is up there. So I have never ran zips or so I have a 606 zip wheel set. So that's an 808 back, 404 front.
Okay. Sounds fancy.
They're pretty nice.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get to that. So I've never put them on this bike before. So I'm putting them on. All of a sudden, I'm starting to realize
What bike did you put it on? It's
this is my 2012 Specialized Roubaix.
Sheldon, no one has ever put zips on a Specialized Roubaix. I don't think it's ever happened.
So I'm trying to get them on, and all of a sudden I realize I don't have enough brake clearance. The wheel set's too wide for the brakes that I have on that bike. So I had to dig out through a parts bin a worn out pad or set of carbon pads that I took off that should have been thrown away. But luckily I didn't throw them away because they enabled me to fit the wheel set on. So I finished the bike at midnight.
Okay.
I had to be out the door at 4 a.m. the next morning.
Because you drove up from Lansing that morning.
That morning,
yep.
So I got a great night's sleep.
I'm sure you did.
And once I got up there, I started to ride my bike over to meet up with some fellow teammates, including you. Mm-hmm. And the entire time, I was getting brake pulsation. That was quite obnoxious and very noticeable. You guys...
So needless to say, this is a great beginning of the race.
Yeah,
this is how you're starting
I just
out.
know my day is going to go awesome at this point.
I went up the night before,
mm-hmm.
and I think I lubed my chain, and I was good to go.
Oh, yeah. Sounds so much better than mine.
Well, I want to go back a little bit though. Because we were talking about the Cherry Roubaix in previous episodes, and I kind of was under the impression that it would be a nice, relaxed Fondo until...
That was our initial plan.
That was our initial plan.
We were going to do the 90. Mm-hmm. The 90 is a Fondo.
And, I'm sure the 90 would have been a great ride. Beautiful scenery, which it was beautiful scenery. But when I went to sign up for the ride... I started to get messages from some of our teammates that no, everyone's riding the state championship and
the 60 miler.
The 60 miler, and that we should do, or I should do the same. And so all of a sudden it went from a relaxed Fondo to we're racing this weekend, and it kind of changed everything.
Oh, yeah. I didn't change my registration until, a couple days before?
Yeah.
It was very last minute.
Yes. But regardless, were you regardless,
so
I was happy with my decision. Sheldon,
I should have put I have a set of lighter cerium wheels, and I should have sacrificed aero for lightness.
Sure.
It was a mistake. But, let's
just talk about our races.
You and I were right together for...
So the race itself, they combined Cat 1 through 5.
Yeah, huge mass start.
Huge mass start, both men and women together.
With a 5 or 6 mile neutral rollout.
Yep, neutral rollout, slow, and there was probably 150, 200 people.
Pretty close to that, somewhere in that range.
I think it was like 150, at least for the finishing list. But
the roads going out of town, not spectacular.
They were a little rough, concrete roads, lots of big potholes. But it was slow. It was kind of, I will say I didn't love the neutral rollout.
No.
I mean, I don't want to be negative, but it was a little rough.
It was just a constant accordion, people almost hitting other people. I'm sure there was a crash somewhere in it.
I'm sure.
None that I saw, but just the way things were going was just super sketchy.
But we got out of the neutral rollout and onto some much better, some of the best roads, I think, in Michigan, for sure.
Once the neutral rollout was over, the roads were just immaculate.
Yeah. And beautiful. I mean, windy, lots of hills.
Forest.
But still, the group was pretty together for the most part at the beginning there until we hit some of those first big climbs.
Yeah, there was a climb that huge crash happened. I mean, it almost was a repeat of MSU Grand Fondo for me.
It was almost exactly.
Directly next to me.
And I was on your left, and we just...
It was exactly.
We almost...
a rider went down, took a couple other people down.
Unfortunate. I mean...
Yeah. I was so close, I actually had the rider that went down initially, when she was on the ground, I hit her with my bike.
Yeah.
But I managed to stay up, and
this time,
and we got out of there, and that was a huge break in the group.
It was a big break, and then I think it wasn't until the next climb where the group even split a little bit more.
Yeah, it started to splinter more.
Yeah. I did have a little incident after the crash. We had this whole debate before we left. 60 miles, it's a race. It wasn't too hot, but I was trying to decide, do I just run 2 bottles? Do I put another bottle in my jersey, which is a giant pain? I didn't want to do that, so I just rolled with 2 bottles. I'd be good to go. Sheldon, in his infinite wisdom, the only smart thing he did that day.
Pedialyte and water.
He carried a 3rd bottle. And while we were in a kind of a tight area, I was trying to take a drink. Everyone was slowing down, and I decided it would be better if I just dropped my water bottle to the side and grabbed a bunch of brakes, which kept me from crashing. So early on, I lost my one of 2 water bottles.
That was full.
And I thought, ooh, that might be the end of my day. But then I saw Sheldon and his 3rd water bottle.
Just smiling at you off my back of my jersey.
The clouds parted and the sun shined right onto the back of Sheldon's jersey and this 3rd water bottle. And Sheldon's so kind, he let me have that 3rd water bottle, so I had 2 water bottles. Honestly, joking aside, that did save my day because I would have been out of water very quickly.
Oh, yeah.
And so thank you so much for letting me have that.
We burned through water in that race.
Yeah, we sure did. But yeah, so... And then we kind of got separated.
Yeah, we got separated up a climb. I had you in sight for a while, but I dropped my chain, and that was it.
Yeah, if
you guys were completely out of sight at that point.
If you didn't stick with any mistake, any gap that you made, I mean, it was a race, so it was really tough to fight back to get back on the group.
We were trying to chase with a lot of the 1-2 guys and some of the really strong masters. So if any gap happened, if you didn't immediately close it, it was a knife in your back.
So the rest of the day I spent on the back of the front group just hanging on for dear life, and that was my goal. I wanted to see if I could stick with the front group, and I mean, I had to dig deep, but I stayed there, and I was pretty happy at the end.
Yeah, you finished within seconds of first place.
Within seconds, yeah, within that front group. I was hoping that if I could stay with the front group, I'm pretty confident in my sprint that we'd get to the point where I'd see the finish and I kind of get up to a position and see what I could do in the sprint. The finish came up all of a sudden on me, and I didn't realize what was happening, and I finished exactly where I should have, in the back of the front group.
That finish was, if you didn't know that course like the back of your hand, it was kind of an awful finish.
It was just tough to know where the finish was.
You just turned a corner, it was boom there.
And it was also very fast. We're bombing down a hill, and then we take a quick left.
And they put cones in the middle of the road.
Yeah. So, but no, I'm happy with where I finished. I think like I said, I finished exactly where I deserved to finish on the back.
Yeah, you're only one
group.
spot away from podium.
Yeah.
So,
and then how did the rest of the race go for you then, Sheldon?
Oh, I ended up having a nice big chunk alone for a while, and I was just time trialing over by Lake Leelanau, and all of a sudden heard a voice. It was a fellow rider that I've ridden with in a ton of races from O2 out of the kind of the east side of the state, and he had a train of people with him, and it was just a godsend. I hopped on there, and we all stuck together for the rest of the race. But speaking of the finish, I was looking at my Garmin. I was like, all right, we got about 2 miles left. I'm going to do a nice big pull, kind of help the group up this hill, and then fall back, save my legs for a sprint. And we get to the top of the hill, start to go down, and all of a sudden a couple people kind of start to come by me. I'm like, all right, well, here's my spot to fall in.
Yep.
No, it was the end.
It was the end. Yep.
We came around that corner, and I was just like, oh, never mind.
Smarter people than us probably did a little bit of research.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even look at the map.
But then the fun thing was that after the end, you rolled through, you went to a park pavilion, and they had a nice spread of food for us.
Yep.
A couple kegs of beer, North Peak beers there for us, and they had a nice little ceremony for all the positions there. So it was a fun day. Weather spectacular, scenery spectacular. I enjoyed it. I would do it again. I would do the Cherry Roubaix again for sure. I doubt the Michigan State Championship's going to be there. Don't they move around?
They move around, but I could see that being one of the races for the series now.
I mean, and if it was a race, I would do the race again. I mean,
oh, absolutely. I'd probably look at the map a little better.
Yeah, I mean, I would hope that maybe the second time, the second time we would do it, we would be maybe a little more prepared.
So remember how I was talking about a brake rub?
Yes. So yeah. Pick that up. So what happened to your wheel set?
So throughout the ride, instead of the brake rub getting better, it got substantially worse. And at the end of the race, I found you, and we were talking, and I looked down at my brake pad, and a pad so the front pads were brand new. To fit the 808 is the one that had put the old brake set or brake pads in. Well, those pads had 20 miles on them. Half the pad was gone.
Oh, jeez.
So we were kind of inspecting my wheel. You know, a carbon wheel doesn't really fall out of true that much. I had a spoke ripping through the carbon.
You think that's why it was out of true?
Oh, I think substantially. So yeah, I have a 404 that is broken carbon.
So it was a costly trip for you.
It was a very costly trip, and a little terrifying that we were going 43 plus miles an hour down those hills, and I had a spoke that was on the edge of tearing out completely.
That is terrifying. Glad that nothing worse happened for sure.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know.
So you have a broken wheel set, Sheldon. What's your future looking for road then? I mean, I know there's not a lot more. There aren't many more races in the season, but what are you thinking about doing?
I mean, this was really my only road race that I even did this year.
Mm-hmm. I mean, now you have your broken
race, my Cannondale Super 6
which is kind of in parts, and then your Frankenbike Roubaix.
That's just going to be going back to training. Just so something to ride at, like RTNRs and stuff.
Sure. Are you going to replace the wheel set? Are you going to...
Down the road, but I mean, even next year, I don't really have much road that I even have desire to race. I think I'm just going to focus
You're
on
more
gravel.
focusing on gravel. You said something about cyclecross for the fall.
Yeah, hopefully this winter I'll be purchasing a new gravel bike.
Mm-hmm.
Something that can fit up to 700 by 50s.
Sure.
And when that happens, my CADX is going strictly back to cyclocross.
Okay.
And then, that's probably just going to be my focus. I think I'm just going to do gravel and cyclocross.
I was pretty encouraged by the Cherry Roubaix, and I wasn't sure if I'd be able to stick with the front guys, but I did, and I worked really hard, and I'm wondering maybe if I should give a little bit more of a go.
Focus in it.
Yeah, focus with road. I feel like I could do a pretty good job, and it excites me a little bit. Crits don't excite me, which I understand that if you really want to do road racing anywhere, you have to do crits, and those scare me to death. So I don't know, but I loved the road race. I love doing things like Grattan. I love going fast on TNR, so I'm kind of torn. I think I just kind of stick with both but I had a blast doing the Cherry Roubaix and the Michigan State Championships. I mean, it was so much fun. So we had a great race. The fall, as Sheldon and I said, we have a few more gravel races before the end of the season. Sheldon, you're going to do some cyclocross.
Yep.
Sheldon, you're doing Iceman this year?
I'm doing Iceman.
Iceman first time. I'm curious to know what other people are doing this fall. What races you're doing, what maybe some of your target races are. If you have anything specific like that.
Especially people that are going to be going into a race that they've never done before. We would love to talk to riders that are going into a race for the first time so we can help encourage others that are looking to venture into new waters in their cycling abilities.
For sure. Other Midpackers, let us know what you're doing, and we want to talk about your racing and your riding as well.
Thank you for joining Trevor and I on this episode of the Dirty Chain Podcast.
And as always, keep your chain clean,
but get your chain dirty.
See you in the Midpack.